Hey guys, Nick Smith here, and today I'm going to show you a really super fast and easy way to dodge and burn. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new layer with Control-Alt-Shift-N, Command-Option-Shift-N if you're on Mac. Then we're going to hit B for our brush tool. Now we're going to hit D for default to make sure our swatches are on black and white. And then we're going to go ahead and hit X and make sure that we're on black. So, first step, really super easy. You're just going to paint black straight over the image, and this is going to look horrible because all we're doing is painting black and there's no regard for context or content. So we're just going to paint black over whatever area we're going to do. I'm starting with the coat just because this is a pretty easy way to demonstrate it to begin with. So now that we have this, looks great, right? So let's go ahead and double tap here and let's bring up the layer style option. And now if you have watched my color toning video on how to use blend if to color tone, you'll recognize this step. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hold Alt, and then we're going to click here, and that's going to separate these two markers, and we're going to drag this all the way to the left. So now we're going to go back and we're going to grab this second marker, and then we're going to drag it to the left until we start to see where it applies to where we want this extra contrast. And I'm trying to accentuate these lines in the coat here. So I'm going to just kind of bring this over until it starts to fade too much, and then back it off again until I start to get that contrast where I want it. Now, one thing you'll notice, because this side is darker, some of this on the left is not going to be as contoured as we'd like. And also, keep in mind, we do have a lot of excess now. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit E for our eraser tool, and then we're going to clean up around the outside where we don't actually want to apply any darkening. So let's go ahead and do that. Clean up on these edges. Toggle it again. Got a lot on the hair here that we're not intending to do right now. Still a lot on the hair. So for the most part, we have this masked in on the right side. However, we're not having as much effect up here as I would like. So if we toggle this on and off, you'll see it's kind of basically just applying to the inside of this left side of the coat. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another new layer with Control-Alt-Shift-N or Command-Option-Shift-N. Take that black brush again, paint it in on this side. And the reason why it didn't apply over here is because this is a different level of lightness than over here. So when we were using our blending option over here, it didn't actually apply because it was already past that threshold. So we have to do this in separate layers. But it's still a lot faster than actually adding in the contrast by hand with the brush tool everywhere you need to go. So let's go ahead and just kind of keep tweaking that. And it looks like it's actually not applying where I want it to be applying right now. All right. So that added a little extra contrast to it. Hitting E again, erasing, cleaning up around the outside. And now, right now this is just solid black being applied, so it doesn't actually look that great. The next step is we need to go ahead and group these together. And then let's just name this one coat for this group. And I held down Shift and clicked on the layers and then hit Control G to group them together. But now I'm going to just rename that. Okay, so now that we have these grouped, let's go ahead and open this up. And let's go to our blending mode here. And change it to soft light. Same with this layer. Let's go ahead and change that to soft light. And now, as you'll notice, the contour is much more subtle. Okay, so now that we got that set to soft light, what we can do is, if we're not happy with enough contrast, so let's go ahead and toggle this on and off, and I think it could use some more to actually bring it out. So what we can do is we can duplicate these layers by using Control J. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we can go ahead and collapse this group and just select the group, and then go ahead and adjust the opacity until we're happy with the contrast we've added. And I think about 85 looks good. Actually, now that I toggle it, I think it's a little too much. So I'm going to go ahead and decrease that. I'm actually going to add a layer mask. I don't like the way that black spot looks right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop a layer mask onto the group, hit B, X to switch to black and just paint with black over that. Just because I didn't like the way that was actually darkening up. I thought it actually looked distracting instead of adding a nice bit of contrast to it. Okay, so we can actually use this for a lot more than just adding a little bit of dimensionality to objects like clothing and such like that. We can also use this to add a really nice shine to hair. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Control Alt Shift N or Command Option Shift N if you're on Mac. B for the brush tool. Make sure you're on 100% flow, 100% opacity, and then just go ahead and paint black over the hair. And once again, this is going to look trash until we actually make our adjustments. Okay, double click. Go ahead and hold down Alt, separate this out. Start dragging this to the right. Start dragging the second marker to the left. Find your blend here. I think I like it right about there. However, if you notice, we lost any contouring we applied to this side of the hair. It's just not there anymore. It's all in here. So go ahead and create another new layer. Control Alt Shift N. And then let's apply our black paint one more time to this side, just so we can blend it individually. Double click. And blend it in until we get a little bit of extra contrast there. Now, so far we've only applied burning, but what we're going to do is go ahead and convert this to soft light just so we got an idea what it's going to look like once we have our proper blending mode. And I put overlay instead, no wonder it got so dark. Soft light. That little bit of extra shine, or a little bit of extra darkness to it. Go ahead and group this. As we can see, we got that little bit of extra contrast. So let's go ahead and group this. Hold down Shift, select both, Control G. Okay, we'll name this one Hair. And it's going to drive me nuts if I don't fix that capital A that doesn't belong there. Okay, so far we've only applied burning to add some extra contrast, but now we're going to add dodge. So let's go ahead and click here and create a new layer with Control Alt Shift N or Command Option Shift N if you're on Mac. B for your brush tool. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit X to swap my swatches. And then I'm going to paint with white. And this is the first time we're painting with white. So same process though. It doesn't really actually matter how accurate you are with it because we're going to blend it with Blend If. I would recommend you try to stay off of skin because normally it will pick up skin and we'll have to clean that up later. So actually I'm just going to go ahead and hit E right now and just clean it up off the skin just because I don't want to have to deal with the hassle later. Okay, so now we're going to double click again, bring up these blending options, and instead of dragging this way, we're going to go down here, hold down Alt, separate these, drag to the right, and once again, as you'll notice, we're going to have an issue where this side of the hair is darker than this side, so we're going to have to kind of mask these blending modes a little bit differently. So what I'm going to do is instead of actually going through and erasing and making a separate layer, I'm just going to go ahead and erase this now. Create another layer, Command Option Shift N, Control Alt Shift N. B for brush tool. Paint this in, and I'm just going to do this so that way I don't have to do the usual thing where I adjust it afterwards. So now we can adjust this just side by side and not have to wait. So let's go ahead and blend these, and I grabbed the wrong side. Hold down Alt, bring it over until you start to get happy with that. I'm going to move this over just a little bit. Okay, let's change the blending mode from normal to soft light. And because it's white and we're on soft light, it's going to have a lot more of an impact, but we're going to adjust the opacity of this later. So let's do the same for the second layer. Drag it over until we start to get just a little bit of extra highlighting happening. Convert the blending mode to soft light. And let's go ahead and make a group out of each of these. So we have separates for highlights and darks, or dodge and burn. Name these darkening layers burn. Name these brightening layers dodge. Okay, so if we turn these off, we'll notice that the burn layer doesn't actually do too much to the appearance, just kind of gives it a little extra contrast in the shadows. And our dodge layer is way too powerful. Now, instead of adjusting these layer by layer, we're just going to go ahead and tweak the overall opacity of the group. And I usually recommend something about like 30. Actually, I think 30 might be a little too much. Let's do like 20. Okay, so now if we toggle this as a whole, we'll see what that did to the hair. And I think that might be a little too overpowering as a whole. So let's go ahead and just lower the opacity of all the hair layers. And I think about 70 will be good. As you notice, it just adds a little more shine and dimension to the hair. Okay, so far I've shown how to use this technique to add contrast to clothing and hair, but we can also use this to contour the face. So let's go ahead and create a new layer with Control-Alt-Shift-N. And for some reason my keyboard shortcut's not working, so I'm just going to use the little button down here. And let's go ahead and make a second one as well. So first thing we're going to do, hit B for our brush tool. Go ahead and resize that. And then just paint over where you want to dodge and burn. I'm going to start with her hands and arms here. All right, so let's go ahead and actually be extra lazy here and see if we can get away with doing the entire face and body contour in one go. And I don't want to paint on the eyes because I don't want the eyes to get obnoxiously bright, which can happen if you were to do this on it, because the whites of eyes are very bright, so it'll pick up and blend into it very, very quickly. But we don't actually want it to do that. So let's go ahead and just kind of keep painting like this. And I'm getting a little sloppy because I'm trying to demonstrate fast and not waste your time. So let's go ahead and do that. And now it looks absolutely lovely, but we're going to make it look better. So let's go ahead and drag. Oh, I accidentally dragged the wrong way. Let's go ahead and hold down Alt and separate. Drag this all the way over. Grab the second one. Drag it until we start to see where the highlights get a little extra pop to them. And stop going into the shadows as much. I'm zooming in just to check, and it seems to be applying quite well. So now we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And let's change this blending mode to soft light. And as we can see, it's adding a lot of extra pop to this. I'm going to wait to adjust the opacity for just a little bit. But okay, so I switched down the bottom layer, and I'm going to hit B for the brush tool. Then I'm going to hit X to go ahead and switch to black. And we're going to do the same thing. Let's paint over these areas on the skin which we want to contour. And try to avoid other areas we've already contoured. And the main reason we want to avoid those areas we already contoured is we don't want to add any additional contouring. I actually just went over the eyes with the black layer. So I'm going to go ahead and erase those. Oops. Hit X to switch back to black. We don't want to add too much contrast to the eyes because it can start to look a little fake if we add darkening to the eyes as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and double click on this layer again. And let's adjust the blending. Drag down, hold down Alt and drag all the way over. And then hold down Alt again, drag. As you'll notice, we have a lot of shadow on the neck, so this is going to add a lot there. And we might want to mask that out because we're doing this as a whole, and we're getting way more shadow on the neck before we're starting to get accents on the rest of the body and face. we're going to want to mask that out. So let's go ahead and just do that until we're happy with where it's at. I think right about there looks good because we start to get that nice contour to the nose. Let me check the rest of the body. Got some extra contour here on the arm as well. Not getting too much on the bottom arm, but that's why we normally do this in multiple layers. So let's go ahead and actually crank this up just a bit more, just so it can apply to more, since we're going to adjust our blending anyways. So I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit E for the erasing tool, and let's take it off the neck here because it's too overpowering at this point. And then let's go ahead and change the blending mode to soft light. And it is applying to the hair and other areas, so let's keep our erasing tool open and go ahead and take it off. Let's toggle it. A little too much on the coat there. Okay, let's turn on our highlight layer. Now, the burning layer at 100% isn't that dramatic, so I think we can get away with going ahead and putting it down to about 70 maybe. Actually, let's go ahead and do 50. Just enough to add a little extra contour to the face and a little bit on the arms. And the dodging layer is much brighter, and we don't want it that bright. So let's go ahead and lower that all the way down to like 30. 30 doesn't seem like enough. 40 is good. Okay, so let's go ahead and hold down Shift, select both these layers, Control G to group them. Name this face and body contour. And then let's hold down Shift and select all these groups, Control G to group them together, and name this Blend If, Dodge and Burn. And now let's go ahead and toggle all these groups at once and see what we actually applied to the photo. So that's before, and that's after. And it looks as if it's almost too much now that I'm actually toggling it. So I'm going to go ahead and just lower the opacity of all of these groups inside of this main group to about 75. And let's toggle it. Still seems like it could be a little too much. So let's go down to like 65 maybe. And we have a much more natural result now overall. And we added some nice contrast and dimensionality to it. And if we toggle off this bottom layer, you can see this is all the little layers up above that we actually have, like with the opacity and stuff like that. And this is what blends into the rest of the image. And toggling it again. I think I'm really happy with that. So that is a super fast and easy way to dodge and burn. The only reason it took so long is because I kind of explained everything step by step, but when you're actually just going ahead and editing an image and throwing these on there really fast, you'll notice it goes by super quick. I don't always use this because I'd rather control it manually, but I know a lot of people have trouble wrapping their heads around dodging and burning, or they just think it takes too long to actually apply the contrast to everything. So I hope this was able to help you guys today. If it was, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already. Feel free to share this on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, any social media you see fit. As long as my work is being shared and people are learning, I'm happy. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.